Hi there, thanks for joining me today on this episode of Seed Pharmacist. So the question I want to ask today is, how do you spend your money? What is that thing that you're so addicted to? And I'm going to talk to you about a young man who had it all. He was very rich. He's made his money in a good way. Really made his money so well. But the question I want to ask is this: how can somebody who had all this cash, all this money, move from a normal life to an uneventful life, from life of quiet and peace to life of chaos? How can somebody go from having a roof over their head to being homeless? And how can somebody be somebody who had family and children and friends around him to being a loner? And how can somebody, be able to afford all the meals and all the good things in his life to not being able to afford any? And how can somebody lose all that just in a few weeks, and yet he didn't go anywhere? He didn't even have to leave his house. And so today I'm talking about gambling. Gambling is a serious matter. So here you've got this guy who had everything going for him. He had a house, he had a family, he had a car, but he was a problem gambler. He was an addicted gambler. And so he lost everything. He didn't lose it to drinking. He didn't lose it to expensive taste or jewelries or expensive holiday. He didn't lose it to gadgets. He lost it just like that by simply gambling. And so gambling is something that, with the advent of internet and smartphone and smart devices, it comes at people all the time. People gamble all the time. They can gamble 24/7. And you hear of people who, they get so addicted. A lady was talking how she got so addicted that once she finished work, she just wants to go and lock up herself in her room and just keep going. In fact, she turned down going out. She turned down socializing, and her friends were wondering, is she all right? But she was, you would say she was all right, because what they were thinking wasn't what the issue. They were thinking she didn't want to socialize. But the issue was problem gambling. It cost. So for this guy, he went from having a roof over his head, having a family, having a good job. He went from that to living on the street and begging. And also what people don't realize is that depression, 60% of people who are problem gamblers end up being depressed. And so you have to know that it's not just you're losing your money, you're also losing your mind, you're losing everything you have. And sometimes people don't even know what is going on, because, like I said, he was locked up in his own room and using his phone or his gadgets and gambling non-stop. And sometimes he wins something, and there's this urge for him to carry on because he has won something. And so my message for you today is, do you realize that gambling is an addiction? It's one addiction that is not just bad for your physical health, it's also bad for your mental health. 13% of problem gamblers end up committing suicide, taking their own life. And also, it's so bad that, how much do you think problem gamblers owe on average? You'll be surprised that in UK they owe an average of £28,000 just by gambling. And it starts small. People say, like just a little bit here, a little bit there. But gradually, people get hooked to gambling, and before you know it, it gets out of hand. Before you know it, they lose everything they have. Before you know it, they start stealing to maintain their habit. And so, before I carry on, I just want to ask you a question. Have you really subscribed? Please hit that notification button at the bottom, so that each time I release a message, you will be the first to hear it each time. And watch all of my videos on different health issues, on different mental health issues. And so back to problem gambling. And like I said, people go out of their way to steal just to feed that habit of gambling. severe gamblers, they run into financial trouble, they get depressed, they commit, take their own lives, and they steal from their families and from anywhere they can to feed the habit. And so that's the message. And the question I want to ask you today is, I'm going to list some questions. And because the thing that sometimes people think, oh, I'm alright, I don't really gamble, I'm okay. But you have to score yourself on these questions and see how many of them you answer yes to. Then you will know whether you're gradually finding yourself in that position where you're going through the slippery slope or gradually becoming a problem gambler. The first question I'm going to ask is, how much do you gamble with more than you can afford to lose? That's the first question. The second question I want to ask is, do you need to gamble with large amount of money to feel better? And also, when you gamble and you lose money, have you tried to do more so that you can get the money back? You know, some people they try and they lose money. Rather than stepping back, they will double down and do more. Are you doing that? Also, have you borrowed money or sold something, maybe something important to you, just to feed that habit? Another question I want to ask is, have you ever had somebody ask you, guys, slow down, you're really gambling too much? Have a family member, a friend sort of called you aside and said, you're really spending too much time betting or being in that casino or scratching that card? Have somebody spoken to you about it? Also, another question you have to answer is, have gambling caused you to be in financial debt? Maybe you have a credit card and you are amassing it because you're constantly gambling. Or you have missed a payment because rather than use the money to make payment, you're using it to gamble. And also another question I'm going to ask that you need to answer to know how bad it is, does your partner, your wife or your husband or your partner, do they know how much you're spending on gambling? So these are the kind of questions you need to ask yourself. How do you feel? Do you feel guilty? Maybe you have that urge to go out and gamble, but after that, you certainly feel guilty and feel ashamed and feel you shouldn't have done so. So when you answer those questions, then you begin to answer yourself the question of whether you are a problem gambler, whether you're on that path, on that slippery slope to losing all you have because you don't want to be like this young man. So thank you for watching. Like I said, please don't forget to subscribe and share, click that share button, and I'll see you some other time. Bye for now.